Hello YouTubers, Joe Kersey here on Friday, June 12th, 2015 at about 1:20 in the afternoon Eastern Daylight Time. Now, today we're going to talk about, consider this video about, part 2 on when I talked about nipple piercings, or my experience with nipple piercing here about 7 weeks ago. As you might recall, I had originally been pierced at 10 gauge, and that's that set of rings right here. Yeah, 10 gauge at, with, I think that was that's a 5/8 inch internal diameter ring. Captive bead ring. And then in the video, about 7 weeks ago, I talked about how I went up to, had them stretched up to 8 gauge and 3/4 inch internal diameter ring. And that's what you see right there. Now, as you might imagine, since the 8 gauge rings are out, clearly out, what did I do? Well, what I did is I went up to 6 gauge. Here's sort of the result. And I stretched them up with this insertion taper. So I used that 6 gauge insertion taper to insert the new rings, and you'll notice that it's got a concave hole in the end. And what you do is you fit the end of the ball in, or the ring in rather, like this. In this case, that's the smaller ring, but you use the correct gauge ring, 6 gauge ring for a 6 gauge taper, and then that smooth end fits into this concave taper, or the end of the taper, and you insert it. You run it through your nipple, and then you put the end of the ring in the end of the taper, and then you shove the taper the rest of the way through by just rotating the ring, and then the ring sort of happily follows on its way through the newly enlarged hole. I'll tell you, it worked like a dream. It worked like just worked tremendously. I mean, it was a lot less painful than the stretching from 10 to 8. Now, my plan is ultimately to go to 4, so I've got planning ahead. Here's my 4 gauge taper, insertion taper. I'm going to wait, well, at least 2 or 3 months. Well, it was almost 2 months between this stretch. I might wait a little bit longer on this time. Here's what I ultimately plan to have put in. Now, the problem are these beads. They're real bastards to get in and out. Well, they're not bastards to get out. They're easy to get out. It's bastards to get them back in. And so you need some tools for this. And here's like ring expanding pliers. You fit the rings over the end there in these notches, and you spread them a bit so the ball just drops out. But the trick is to get them back in. You've got to close them enough so that, but not too much, because you want to be able to, but you have to sort of snap that ball in, because it has a beaded little dimple there, see? And you come on here, dude, focus. Well, here. It's got a little dimple, Well, I'm making it worse. So anyway, there's a little dimple, and you pop the dimple in between the two ends of the ring. Now that sounds easy to do, but it's not. I'm going to tell you that right now. That is not easy to do at all. I got the two rings in without the balls in about 7 minutes. Less than 7 minutes last night. And then it's like how to get that bead in. How to get that bead in. Well, I got the one on the left in after, well, maybe about 15-20 minutes. And I was able to tighten this thing down, and I was able to tighten the thing down so that it, I can't spin this bead. Well, a little bit, just a bit. I have to work to spin it. Now you can't really see it probably on this camera, but even the proper ring closing pliers slightly scratch the ring. That's sort of a no-no. It's no sharp edges, but that's a no-no. Now, this one over here on the right was a real mother. Now you'll note that this ball spins fairly freely. It snapped in fairly audibly with an audible click, finally. And you can't probably see this either, but this ring also has some scratches on it. It has some scratches on it because I decided to resort to well-padded, and note the word well-padded vice grips. Now, probably not the suavest of moves, but again, not scratched badly enough to matter. And this isn't going to be the terminal jewelry anyway, so it'll do. It'll do for now. So that was my little project last night, between about 8:30, 9:30 at night. Okay. Even with proper equipment, and I practiced putting that bead in and out. I mean, I had everything set up. I had everything ready to go, and I practiced putting the bead in and out of the rings. But I guess I didn't do it well enough, huh? It's a bit windy out here today, so we may get that windy sound, in the video, but it's just so nice. It's 86 degrees, and we're going to have a little line of storms move in here later tonight, but right now it's wonderful. You read about how to do this on the internet, and people say this, people say that, but once the initial healing is over, and that takes 9 months to a year, before you start stretching. Some guys say, well, you can stretch every 4 weeks. Some guys say, well, wait 2 months. Some guys say, wait 3 months. In this case, I waited, 7 weeks and 2 days. They're surprisingly, they feel fine. I mean, there's a lot less soreness than there was the last time. There was a lot less pain than there was the last time having them stretch. So it's clearly okay. When I go to 4, I'm going to put the rings in myself because I think I can do a less painful job of it for me. But I'm going to go down to the Pierceology place there on 2nd Avenue there in Columbus and have them put those beads in because I don't want to risk, scratching, basically the permanent jewelry. I even ordered a couple of spare rings today just because I'm a pack rat sort of hoarder, as you might have gathered from seeing the inside of my house. Well, that's Joe's little saga for the day and last night. It makes you just feel, just continually turned on. There's just no other way around it. I mean, there's just no other way around it. So, I'm very glad I got this stuff done and I'm doing this stuff. But I think I'll stop at 4. I don't know, I may stop at 6, in which case I'll just go down and have them put in new rings. Alrighty. Bye-bye, YouTubers.